In the gritty streets of North London, where dreams often withered in the harsh reality of poverty, three brothers dared to imagine a different future. The year was 1980, and Terry Adams, Thomas "Tommy" Adams, and Patrick "Patsy" Adams were about to write their names in blood across the pages of British criminal history. Born to Irish immigrants, the Adams brothers were part of a sprawling family of 11 children. They grew up in Barnsbury, Islington, a neighborhood where the line between right and wrong often blurred in the face of necessity. Their childhood was a crucible that forged their bond and honed their street smarts. Terry, the eldest, had a keen mind that could spot an opportunity a mile away. Tommy, the middle child, had a head for numbers and a talent for making money multiply. Patsy, the youngest, had fists like hammers and a reputation that made hardened criminals think twice. Together, they formed a triumvirate that would come to be known as the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate, or simply the Adams family. The Adams brothers started small, but they had big ambitions. They began with protection rackets and small-time drug dealing, but quickly realized that the real money lay in thinking bigger. Their first major coup came with a series of audacious gold bullion heists that sent shockwaves through London's underworld. As their wealth grew, so did their influence. They expanded into drug trafficking, partnering with South American cartels to flood London's streets with cocaine and heroin. Their extortion rackets became more sophisticated, targeting businesses and individuals who had no choice but to pay up or face the consequences. But it wasn't just brute force that fueled their rise. The Adams family was smart. They invested their ill-gotten gains in legitimate businesses, nightclubs, restaurants, and property. They cultivated relationships with corrupt police officers, lawyers, and even politicians. Rumors swirled of a British Conservative MP in their pocket, though such whispers were never proven. By the mid-1980s, the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate was a force to be reckoned with. Their reach extended far beyond the streets of Islington. Their influence felt in every corner of London's criminal underworld. With power came brutality. The Adams family ruled through fear, and their reputation for violence was well earned. Over the years, they were linked to no less than 25 gangland murders. Informants, rival criminals, anyone who dared to cross them, all met grisly ends. One incident in particular cemented their fearsome reputation. In July 1991, the streets of London witnessed a shocking act of violence. Mad Frankie Fraser, a 68-year-old former enforcer for the Richardson gang and a legend in his own right, was shot in broad daylight, but he survived. The word on the street was clear. It was an Adams family hit, but it wasn't just rival gangsters who felt their wrath. In a chilling incident, Patsy Adams allegedly assaulted David Fraser, Frankie's son, with a knife during a drug deal gone wrong. The message was clear. No one was untouchable, not even the families of London's most notorious criminals. But even the mightiest empires have their weaknesses. For the Adams family, the first cracks appeared in the late 1990s. Tommy Adams, once considered the financial brain of the operation, was caught in a drug plot that his brothers reportedly hadn't sanctioned. During his trial, secret recordings made by law enforcement revealed a rift between the brothers. Terry's voice, cold and dismissive, spoke of keeping relations with Tommy to a minimum. The once unbreakable bond between the brothers was showing signs of strain. It was a watershed moment. The authorities, long frustrated by the Adams family's seeming immunity, sensed blood in the water. They decided to change tactics, to go after the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate with everything they had. In an unprecedented move, the fight against the Adams family went beyond traditional law enforcement. MI5, Britain's secret service, was brought into the fray. For 18 long months, every word, every whisper in Terry Adams' world was recorded. The operation was a masterclass in surveillance. Hidden microphones picked up conversations in cars, homes, and offices. Phone calls were intercepted, financial transactions scrutinized. Slowly but surely, the evidence began to mount. But Terry Adams was no fool. Perhaps sensing the net closing in, he began to distance himself from the criminal underworld. He cultivated a new image, buying expensive clothes, collecting art and antiques. He was no longer a gangster, he claimed, but a legitimate businessman. The house of cards finally began to collapse in 2003. Terry Adams was arrested in a dawn raid that shook the London underworld to its core. In his home, police found a treasure trove of evidence, art and antiques valued at £500,000, £59,000 in cash, and jewellery worth more than £40,000. The King of Clerkenwell was about to be dethroned. In 2007, Terry Adams pleaded guilty to a single count of money laundering. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison. But the story wasn't over. He was ordered to pay £4.7 million in legal aid and £800,000 in prosecution costs. The man once worth £200 million now claimed to be penniless. Tommy and Patsy Adams weren't far behind. Tommy faced further convictions for money laundering. In one particularly damning case, he was linked to a scheme involving the collection of criminal money from Manchester, which was then funneled to him via trusted associates. Patsy, the once feared enforcer, met his downfall in a characteristically violent incident. In 2016, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for a shooting in Clerkenwell. The victim, in a twist that could have come straight from a gangster film, refused to cooperate with police out of a twisted sense of loyalty. The fall of the Adams family sent shockwaves through London's criminal underworld. The brothers who had once ruled with an iron fist were now behind bars or living in exile. Their empire had crumbled, their wealth scattered to the wind. But the story wasn't quite over. In 2017, Terry Adams lost his appeal against an order to pay £700,000 under the Proceeds of Crime Act. Despite repeated claims of poverty, he managed to repay the entire amount just days before a deadline that would have sent him back to prison. It was a final, enigmatic chapter in the story of a man who had always seemed to be one step ahead of the law. The legacy of the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate lives on in the collective memory of London. In the pubs of Islington, in the streets they once ruled, their name is still spoken in hushed tones. They remain a cautionary tale of power, greed, and the long arm of the law. The story of the Adams family is more than just a crime saga. It's a mirror held up to society, reflecting our fascination with power and our complex relationship with those who operate outside the law. For some, the Adams brothers were Robin Hood figures, men who rose from poverty to challenge the establishment. For others, they were simply brutal criminals who brought misery and violence to the streets of London. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. The Adams family's rise was as much a product of society's failings as it was of their own ambition and ruthlessness. Their fall serves as a reminder that no one is above the law, no matter how high they rise or how untouchable they seem. Today, the London underworld is a different place. The old hierarchies have crumbled, replaced by a more fragmented, unpredictable criminal landscape. But the legend of the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate endures, a stark reminder of a time when 3 brothers from the streets of Islington held an entire city in their grip. The Adams family may be gone, but their story, a saga of ambition, violence, and ultimate downfall, will be told for generations to come. It stands as a testament to the enduring power of loyalty, the corrupting influence of greed, and the inevitable triumph of justice, however long it may take. Or have they gone? Are they still working in the shadows and still ruling London with an iron fist? Let us know in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.